bum, da 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 da. What's going on? Hey, good morning, Americas. Boom, 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 boom. All right, all right. What's up? What's up? What's up? Yeah, we got a little dip in the market now. So we're gonna have some decisions to make. Let me get to work here. ¿Cómo estás? Cool, 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 cool. What do we got in here today? All right. Hey, Michael, how you doing? Mr. Johnston, how you doing? I keep these earnings plays. They're probably going to move around okay, Chris. They're in weird spots. Usually the best ones are breaking out, but you never know. Like this thing could break down. Actually, these China stocks have been turds. All right, all right. Who do we got in here? Cool. Let's get to work, people. I think everybody's in. Yeah, we got a little bit of a morning gap down, which I wouldn't say is surprising. But we did have a nice run yesterday, so we're kind of coming back into the middle of the range. And so this will be something to keep an eye on today because, frankly, we had a huge drop on Friday, right? And then yesterday was just an inside day. So even though it was a fun day, I thought it was a fun day. There's a lot of good breakouts and all of this kind of stuff. It's still theoretically an inside day. And so we got to be a little bit careful in how we kind of manage the day, right? And so let's go in and kind of dig through. So I think there's a couple things that we should be mindful of. First of all, this 495 on the QQQs is, the Friday's low. And if we break below that, I think that we're going to have probably, a little bit of an increase in volatility. And, we may have some downside to the 50-day moving average. If the market goes red to green today, right? If the market goes red to green today, so meaning this dip gets bought up and we break over, say, 500, right? Then I think that kind of puts us back into this gap fill here, where if we can break through this gap, then we've got an upside to 510. So in trading, right, whatever you think is like, your opinion of the market really doesn't matter, right? All we could do is kind of have some spots and some levels and then trade around it, right? And so for us, we have the gap fill spot, and then we have Friday's lows. In between that, we've got the red to green and previous day's highs. So there's kind of 4 different extension levels that we need to be aware of, right? Gap fill, Friday low, the red to green spot, and then yesterday's high. And we're going to open up right at yesterday's lows too. And, if we break below that, then that kind of takes us down into 400. So when you're trading, essentially what you're doing is kind of trading around in boxes, right? What are my specific boxes that I'm kind of moving in and out of? Good. Now, if we look at the SPY here, we've got a very similar action here. And so this will be a little bit, I think, tricky, right? This will be a little bit tricky. So we're going to open up pretty much at Friday's lows. And then is this a double bottom or, right, is this something that leads to a deeper pullback? And this we won't know right away. We'll have to kind of let this play out and see exactly where things come in. But we've got 4 levels that we need to play around. The low, yesterday's low, the red to green spot, previous day's high, and that also starts with the gap fill. On the IWM, you could see here, like we're already coming back and testing this. And so, after yesterday's action, my thought was really that we would probably hold up and, we may be able to get a little bit of a continued bounce. But it looks like that's not really, that's not really the case so far. And so we need to kind of, we need to be a little bit careful today. Whew. Let's see here now. Man, that's nasty. Let's take a look at the interest rates here and see what's happening with TLT. I think maybe, this is still going to be weighing on the markets on a long-term basis, but you can see this has actually been popping up in the pre-market, and it looks like maybe we've based out a little bit here. One of the things to keep an eye on will be this 20 SMA here, which has been a little bit of a lid on it since October. And so if we can kind of clear over that, I think that'll probably take a little bit of the steam out of the market. We'll have to kind of slowly keep an eye on this because it is starting to round it. So that can that can help out the market quite a bit if that can sustain. Now, let's get into some of the news of the day here. We got SMCI. This got up to about 30 and it's already crunching. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing roll over today, but this is already crunching today. So they came out and said that they hired an accounting firm or an auditor. Now you got to take this with a grain of salt. Like I don't read the PRs or anything like that, but the auditor that was on it, I never heard of him. Right? I never heard of him. And I think it's probably one of these fluffy things where it's like they get some, like Chinese auditing firm and they're like, hey, we got one. And, everybody's like, oh, cool. And so the stock spikes up and then later on, right, fizzles out and is like, all right, there's not really much going on here. So just something to be mindful of. Let's take a look and see if we got any economic news or anything like that for today. And then we'll kind of move on into what I think is going to be the stocks to trade today. And yeah, if anybody's got any tickers they want to take a look at, let me know. Bum, 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 bum. Now, so morning mashup unit. Da, 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 da. So housing starts and permits. I wouldn't read too much into that one. Fed speakers. You got Jeffrey Schmidt at 110. Housing starts. And then everything else is looking pretty. Static. You do got some investor calls here for Qualcomm and Lemonade. These actually, sometimes these will move these stocks. So keep an eye on Lemonade and Qualcomm. You never know. They might catch a little bit of a bid if they're starting to say something. Beyond that, upgrades, nothing that really juicy here. We got a couple downgrades and Blink, but these are all no names. mRNA hold, blah, blah, blah. And then you can see one of the things to be mindful of is that the earnings season themselves has really slowed down now. So we got like just a handful of names here like Baidu and stuff that's left. Of course, NVIDIA. Beyond that, like you're not really seeing much out there. So keep an eye on this. Like this is going to be, I think, I think now like the market is, you lose some of the fun. So this has been a hot earnings season. There's been more breakouts than we've had in quite some time, especially on these like kind of mid-cappy names. And so we definitely want to keep an eye and see if there's any like last juice out of here. We got NVIDIA, PanW. Then after that, it's probably going to slow down. Like the market itself, you won't have as many catalysts with the election over and all of these kind of things. You might have some year-end window dressing. Thanksgiving week typically is a pretty fun kind of week to trade also. Otherwise, it's a no buenos. So we'll kind of keep an eye on all of that kind of stuff too. I don't know if we'll have like a huge amount of range once we get through this, beyond just whatever the post-earnings plays are. So let's start digging into the general. Let's get into the general gapper list here. Let's see what's going on. Ba-dum-ba-dum-bum-bum. Da-dum-bum-bum-bum. Let's see here. So now we've got a handful of these kind of small turds here. So SMCX, this is the 2X ETF for SMCI. My gut feeling, man, I woke up late. I was gonna try to short this at the in the when the pre-market opens, but I woke up a little bit late. My gut feeling on this is, it's a fader, but it already crunched. So that's the thing. If you look here, like where it was, it was at $30. I was thinking it was going to crunch, but really the entry to short it would have been somewhere either here or maybe here. You can't really chase it down here because half the gap has already been faded. So you do lose like just you do lose a little bit of that juice. So I think probably the easy short is over. You know, my gut feeling is it still probably rolls up. Yeah, on the SMCI thing, what I saw, and I don't know if this is the proper terminology, but what I had seen was that they hired somebody, but those people haven't actually looked at the books yet. Let me see if I can find it here. Bum, 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 bum. Let me see here. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Yeah, I'd say neither the company nor anyone in behalf is consulted with on a specific transaction, blah blah blah. Uh, and that's from a buddy of mine. I've known him for years. He's brilliant. So you take it with a grain of salt, of course. But that's what I had seen. On the Twitter. You know, does that mean that's the right news or not? No, but I've known this guy for like a decade, so he's usually on point. He's usually on point with that kind of stuff. So that's why I was thinking it's probably a layup. But the easy short's already over. It's already crunched. Now let's take a look here. So UVXY also pushing today, and this is also something that gives me a little bit of pause today. I was thinking we're getting a little bit of a bouncy McGee today, and it has not. Volatility starting to push through, so we'll have to be a little bit careful. We'll have to be a little bit careful on what we see. BTCS junk. NXCE. So what is this bad boy? Next Gen Energy. Yeah, if you see here, you got a level here. If you don't mind like a little bit of a cheaper name, like this is that isn't so bad. It did 10 million shares in volume yesterday, so you definitely got Mr. Blanton's. How you doing, sir? You definitely got a little something something there. If you like a cheaper name, this ain't there could be a lot worse than this bad boy. You got a spot here at 875. And this is the kind of market where like these kind of things have been ripping through. So keep it. I keep it. Get rid of all this junk here. Hold on here. Yeah, that's hot. 875 breakout. Once again, you got to be willing to dumpster dive a little bit, but if you are, it's got a good look to it. UAVS. This is the drone company. This is really probably just a pump and dump. They had a 1-50 reverse split, so you're not going to get like, you're not probably going to get like the easiest play on. What the fuck? So I got disconnected for a second. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, this is all Turdy McGee's here, right? So when you're going through and you're looking, MSTR is really the only thing holding up here. Yeah, we'll go into MSTR in a second. Then the rest of this is just all inverse ETFs. So not really anything that good. Now, this Russia Ukraine thing is also weighing on the markets too. So you'll have to be just a little bit mindful, on this little step up in escalation. Now, let's take a look on the downside and see what we got going. Yeah, hold on here. Yeah, see all this? When you see like your whole gapper list is all just inverse ETFs down here, that's usually right your kind of telltale sign that ain't nothing good going on. Yeah, DJT. So look, DJT had this big pump yesterday, and the rumor was out that they're going to be buying the backed exchange, BKKT backed exchange. Backed exchange, when it came out, was like the hottest thing around. When the backed exchange came out, it was the hottest thing around. And then it just kind of dumped and dumped. And once the crypto kind of bubble, that 2000 and that COVID bubble, deflated, I should say, it just ended up kind of going back into the wayside. At one point, it was, multi-billion-dollar company. And it looked like it was like kind of the first hot crypto exchange that was like, regulated, because it was more for futures. And then it just kind of turned into a turd. So now that it's been reverse splitted, you can see here it's a 1 to 25 in May. So the float on this is tiny now. And so yesterday, the news came out that the Trumpster himself was looking into this one, and you got this big spike up. Now, look, the float on this is not 245. You got to divide it by 25, right, from the reverse split. So it's really, let's say 10 million shares. So just even a little bit of volume, right? So it did about 10 million shares in volume yesterday. Even the slightest bit of volume can really get this thing kind of pumping and pumping and pumping. So keep an eye on that bad boy. Yeah, let's see if it catches a bid. It's not really my particular type of flavor because but it's got the liquidity you need, 2 million shares already. Let's see if it catches a bid on this, due to the fact that the float is going to be tiny and the day is going to be dead. And so what I mean by that is that when you have, when you don't have that many good PRs in a day, oftentimes like traders will start to bust in to whatever's just like the hot little thing, that day. So we can definitely roll with this bad boy, and let's see if it catches a bid somewhere. I wouldn't just chase this off the first candle or anything like that. You're gonna really need to see where this thing sets up. And if you can like find a good spot, then it might be worth a chance. Now look, this is just a rumor, so most likely it's all, it could just be a big giant fugazi, and this company is a big gelatinous piece of excrement, right? So it's not necessarily like the hottest thing, but it could be the hottest thing for today. Now let's see on the downside what we got going on here. Yeah, you can see these are all just ETFs. So there's very, very little action. So, okay, so what's the game plan today? First, let's take a look at old Bitcoin. So we can take a look at old Bitcoin over here too, all right? And what do we got going on over here? So after this initial push here, we've been consolidating, right? And I believe Bitcoin's kind of been just walling out at maybe 92, 93,000. And so you're starting to just develop a little bit of a flag, right? Now, the key on this is going to be that it's a little bit loose in pattern, right? So you need this to kind of catch up here. I think the 90 man Bitcoin's at 88,000. So you're going to kind of back and fill some of this area here, as this develops, right? And it may even need to, it may need to, kerplunk a little bit. It may need to kerplunk just slightly here and kind of shake everybody out. But you do got a level that's starting to develop here. Man, that could be nice, really nice. Hey, by the way, an fun fact is that options on IBIT are going to start, I believe, today. Right? So the options on the iShares will settle in Bitcoin, meaning when the contract's option is exercised, the settlement will actually, will involve the actual delivery of Bitcoin to fulfill the contract. So this could put a little bit of a little extra volume. Say for example, this is doing 1 billion shares in volume a day or something like that, right? Now, dude, you may get a little something here. So hopefully this dips off for a hot second, and then we may want to start looking for an entry point on this to see if this is like turns into something, because I'm a little bit bullish on the fact that once the options traders get into something, now, dude, now you really got something, right? So just something to be mindful of. Like, this is got a chance for later on. So if that's the case, then coin's got a weak open here, and you can see here we've got just kind of this level that's nudging at 332. Guys, this thing has been dipping down and then ramping up big time, right? So every time it's been weak for the last 2 days, look at the price action on this, right? Friday, right? You dipped down at the open, retested into some support, and then it just ramped up the whole damn day, right? And yesterday, it opens up at 300, it rips down about 12, 13 points, and then boom, right? You start to roll with this thing. Now you're into something. So you've got yourself a nice spot here. And then, dude, it was gangbusters, right? You ended up going 40 points, right? 40 points off its lows, even more than 40 points. Look at this fucking monster cock close on this thing, right? You're getting up to 330. So you got yourself a nice little doohickeys over there. Damn, that's some good stuff right there. So now when you see something like this, now we're dipping off again. If Bitcoin can bust through today, keep an eye on that 92, 93,000, then all of the sudden we've got a little bit of a rest open. We might be able to push this thing through. Now, ideally, right, you kind of like will push off a little bit and then go. So a little bit more pull. We pulled about 8 points. Just a little bit more, I think will set this up good. Beyond that, the rest of these things are kind of trading like turds. MSTR is trading obviously very good. Dude, hard to, it's hard to lose money on something like this when you have so much range. I'm a piker by nature, by blood. So, I ended up selling out of this thing in the morning and taking off for the day. And it ended up dude, I mean, that's a 9 EMA D rider. Now, beyond that, what's happening and how a stock is acting very, very bullish, you'll see this like in bull markets all the time, where like you'll start basing out and you'll make some lower highs, and then boom, you'll get this flush, and it sucks everybody in to short it because you're under the VWAP, and it just gets ramped back up, right? And you get these big closes. You're seeing that a lot in these, and that's like that's your like just quintessential, right, kind of bullish behavior on when you have a true momentum name. And so those are the big ones. Beyond that, look, the rest of these things look like turds, right? Like Mara's a slut, Right, it's a double Rundy. Coors is the only one that I think is still got. This is the other one that I think has got a spot. So after you came up to 18, right, you started to pull back. So see, you're hanging out right in the bone zone here. You're hanging out right in the bone zone here. And I think if you could bust through, maybe let's just call it 16 and some change, then I think you got something here. Let's look at a 30-minute chart here. Make it a little bit clearer. Whoa. That's nice. That's nice. Real nice. Dude, let's call you 16. Let's call 16 and some change. 1610, 1625 don't really matter. Ooh, let me see that one, Armando. What was the ticker on that, buddy? Oh, I see. I see. AI had a PR with Microsoft. Oh, little C3s, huh? Let me see what's going on. I didn't see anything on the wire, but let me see. C3 AI and Microsoft forged strategic alliance to accelerate enterprise AI adoption. Don't know exactly what that means, but it doesn't mean it's not a buenos. Woo. Yeah, I'm not sure. Probably, let's keep an eye on it. Shit. I mean, we got nothing else to do. We're traders. So this thing's at 26, pulled up to 28. Let's call this, we'll call this level there the sweet spot of glory. Let's see if it holds up. It's the right time and place for this kind of name, Armando, in that like almost everything that's just kind of, this is obviously the biggest makeshift, you know, base ever, but it's a nasty. You almost have to zoom out so that you don't throw up at how nasty it looks. But when you zoom out, it looks a little bit better, right? So if you did like a weekly chart, if you did a weekly chart on this, you're like, ooh, right? Not so bad. So you do have like some levels that kind of base around here. And it is the right market for this type of play. If you really think about like what type of setup has been the setup that's been really cooking and booking this, particular year, it's been it's been this, right? It's been this like kind of big, right? Big basey play. So this is a good spot. Let's keep rolling with it. I'd add it. My only worry is right. It's just a little bit of a right. It's a little bit of a cluster F word, but I wouldn't say it's so bad. Let's add it for now. Yeah, going back to these crypto stocks. Let's see here. I wouldn't. I got a whole list of these things here. So if we take these, we got BKKT, right? You got Coin and MSTR, they're just daily traders, right? And then you also have Cores, which, frankly, Cores kind of looks a little bit like a swing trade, right? If it can hold up into this level here, it looks a little bit like a swing trade. You just need the confirmation that it's holding. Beyond that, like if you're looking here like a 30-day kind of a push, I like to sort these by 30 days in a hot market. You can see here, right? Hot still flagging out. So you got this big pop, right? A couple low volume days of consolidation. I mean, that looks pretty good because if you look here, right, in terms of the huge base, you're starting to just flag out right over that 21. Right over that 21. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's nice. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, see, they're all kind of hanging here. Even Hood is looking pretty nice, but this might be a little bit tired. You've had 3 green days in a row. SQ, I think out of all the crypto offshoots, probably man, that's nice. So you get a red open on this one. I think this level, if you look back here, right? This level is so big on this bad boy. I mean, this is a huge spot, right? If you can, dude, if you can take this out here, I mean, it sets up really a swing trade into the 120, in that range. 100, I think the 200 SMA is 114, and then the old high over here is 147. So you got a lot of room to go. So today you got a weak open on this one, right? You got a weak open on this one. So close around 92. You're getting this thing down into 89. Dudes, we got ourselves a little bit of fun on that. That's nice. Real nice. Man, let's watch this one for a red to green and a takeout of 92. I mean, that's top tier right there. Also, we want to be a part of that. I would consider this basically a crypto name, right? I would consider this a crypto name. It's running with them. We might as well just give it the promotion it deserves. The rest of these I think are duds. Hold on 1 second. It's my sister's birthday. Yo! The Bachu's downstairs with Dad. Ooh. Oh, okay. Let me call you back in like 2 seconds. I'm streaming on YouTube. Okay. Love you. Bum, 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 bum. I think my sister's birthday's tomorrow. Let me double check. Not today. I have to double check. In our family WhatsApp group, everybody's telling her today, but I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. All right. Now, let's get into some faves for today. All right. Let's get into some faves for today. YM's got earnings out. All right. SYM is got earnings out here. Low float stock, 41 million shares. 41 million shares, dude. This is also basically, I would consider this a little bit of an AI stock. You can see here fiscal swings to net income as revenues rise. SYS reported net income late Monday at 5 cents, swinging from a loss. Revenues at 3 months rose to 577 from 391. That's a buenos, right? You got all sorts of goodies happening on this thing. Pretty low float. Very sweet spot in the company, by the way, too. Right? You're at $3 billion. Like, those are the best ones. When you have, like those are like your UPST, Affirm types, right? Where you're not some penny stock, but you're not a mega, right? A mega cap. This could be something for us. Let's add this to our gapper list for today. Man, I think that could be a nice something. Now, beyond that, MSTR, this is a daily trader for us. It's given all the range. Guys, this stock is a heartbreaker, though, for some of you, for some people. If you're having trouble, if you are not a good trader, you probably shouldn't even trade it because the range is just too big. You can make your nut very quickly, but if you don't have really the stones to put your stop losses in the right spots and do all that kind of stuff, just pick something easier. Sometimes for some people, trading slow, boring stocks is really the way to go, right? Not everybody has to trade something that's moving around, 40, 50 points. It brings out the worst in you, and it can lead to, frankly, a lot of, right, it can lead to a lot of mistakes and stuff like that. So you don't necessarily have to trade something like this, and it's doing like a lot, it's doing a ton of volume and all this kind of stuff, and they have some cheaper versions of this, right? You have like MSTX, which is $119, and then you have MSTY, which is $40. So you can trade these, and they'll move a little bit less. And I think that's sometimes the easier way to do it. Historically, we were always taught that, the cheaper stocks move around the most. But the last few years, that's kind of changed, right? Where these like kind of $300, $400 stocks move around so much, and they cause you to make a ton of mistakes. The same thing happens with Tesla, like Tesla's $350. Dude, it's moving around on a per candle basis, maybe a little bit too much, so you can trade TSSL. It's $20, and it'll give you more percentage range, but it tends to just trade like a little bit, right? Like you're a little bit more linear in that, like, you can see it like, okay, I'm going to get a 50-cent gain, a dollar gain. That's good, right? And, you can kind of do the math on it. Sometimes with the $300 stocks, it's like you're kind of, you're like dividing in, like, okay, 360 divided by $2. How much did I make? I think it's just easier to do. And they kind of move a little bit smoother, right? Like you'll have a little bit less, something. It's still doing tons of volume, by the way. 123 million shares is no joke. So you can do this with all of these kind of $300 names. Same thing with coin. This Connell, it's $65. Dude, this is 2x. So it's going to move twice as much in percentage terms. It's a little bit cheaper. And look, it just trades a little bit smoother. It's going to move around on a per candle basis just a little bit less. I mean, that's, if you're going to take, if you're going to trade and you can't handle the heat, this is probably, just a little bit of a simpler name. And I've noticed this with a lot of my students over the years. Like, sometimes just trading the simple, boring grinder stocks leads to consistency that you just can't get trading. I trade Tesla, or I trade MSTR, or whatever. I trade coin, whatever the hot names of today are. They all got spreads and all of this kind of stuff, they all got tons of algos. So think about this. If you're a shitty trader and your risk management stinks and your mentality stinks and you just can't get it together, and then you spend your days trading the stocks that have the most algos in it, the most HFTs in it, the most big name market participants, well, what is your edge trading against them? Wouldn't you be better off trading something that those specific people are not in? Right? So then it just becomes, it's like more of a matter of ego. Like, are you just trading those names because it's just either your preparation stinks and you're lazy bum, or because, you just want to trade the hot name and you don't care about making money, right? A lot of times just trading something very boring and slow will pay off. Like you can just trade something that's a little bit more of a grinder. So keep that in mind. Like, you don't got to always trade some wild stuff. I got this APP on watch for break over 302. Frankly, in this market, though, you got to be careful chasing this thing. It may need more time to just back and fill this thing. If the market had been just going green every day like it had been, I would say like I'd rush into this and break this 300. With the market being a little bit soft, you probably need to hit it on a dip and sell it into the 300. But it is very, very hot. MBLY. Hey, there was this news out on autonomous driving in the Federal Traffic Commission. I don't know who the fuck. There was some news on the federales looking at these things. And it ended up being a pretty bullish gap on some of these Tesla and this one. Tesla faded off, but this held up pretty good. We've got a breakout spot here at 1750. Very, very, very good one. Man, that's nice. All right. Now, we got talked about SQ. I think this dip, if we can get this thing down into this, I want to look at maybe flipping this thing for a long. I really like this A-Lab. I think this could be a swing trade setup if the market can gain some footing. I don't want to add any swings if the market dumps off today because of whatever is happening right now. Because it looks, the futures are lower as Putin lowers threshold for nuclear response. I mean, he's full of shit, but you never know with these people, right? So push, pull back into the bone zone. Woo! That's very, very, very nice. Dude. That's nice. All right, so what's the trigger on this, right? If the market rebounds and this goes red to green, we'll take it. And then there's like this spot here, right at 92, 94, that should be a release point to get it to 90, get it back into 100. We got to be careful today because the market itself is still taking a little bit of a blumpkin. After yesterday's run, theoretically, we should have probably held up here, right? But we've got some geopolitical tensions happening. And so the futures have dumped off a little bit, and we're right back into Friday's lows. Now, we've held up here. We tested the Friday's lows, and we did hold so far. But we want to really be mindful of this level. If we dump off here and break under Friday's lows, then we'll probably come in and test that 50-day moving average, and that'll put some pressure on the market. And then all of a sudden, right, these kind of setups here will also dump back. And so you have to be really mindful of the locations of what you're doing here. Dox is another one here. I like this for a potential swinger. Yesterday was probably the entry. You had this gap up here, big movement on earnings. 4-day pullback into the bone zone, then you remount to the 9. That's usually my trigger for these kind of things here. It's still got a flat open here. So I think if it opens up weak a little bit and the market rebounds, that's still a potential play. AAOI, this 29.25 is a big spot here. It's just grinding down for the last 4 days here. This is another one that will need some help from the market because, frankly, the IWM itself is taking a big shitter. It's down 7-8 days in a row, but it is retesting the old breakout spot. So this is a huge spot. This is a huge spot here. What it needs to do is hold here and then remount this 9 EMA. That'll give it the confirmation that the bounce is real, right? You can see the 9 EMA still curling down on this thing, and so we just don't have the trend on a short-term time frame is down, but if we can remount this, then it's going to be a much better deal. If this doesn't hold here and it gets back into the 50-day moving average, dude, you're stuck back in range. Everything was a big fugazi on these things then at that point, and some of the fun is out for us. Affirm, 2 big days, two big days here on this thing. It went from 51 to 63. You're pulling back here. Any kind of retest into this zone right here, I think is something I'm interested in. And it's never spots, right? It's just a zone of love here. But somewhere into this area here, I'm a buyer of this bad boy, especially going into Black Friday. I think that this has got a chance to get a little jiggy. Hey, Mr. Azar, my friend, how are you, sir? Hey, so you can keep day trading this, but most likely this needs to pull back for a couple days, like at least to just tighten up the chart because it was $9 just a little bit ago, right? So look, if you look at a weekly chart on this, it's fantastic. It's got a lot of stuff going for it here. You're remounting the 200-day moving average and right, you're kind of coming out of this zone, but it's going to need a little bit of love now. You're going to need a little bit of love. You got tails 2 days in a row on this thing too, Dave. So you got to just got to push it through a little bit. Let it tighten up. You got time. Good. All right, guys. So be careful today. Remember, there's all sorts of goodies here, right? We got SYM. You got BKKT. You got this NXC over 875. AI's got a PR out with Microsoft. I'd only touch it if it starts to really push through. Crypto stocks are holding up here. So SQ, Coin, dude, all of these are looking buenoses and nocheses. I'm enjoying. I think we got a chance. Now, what we just need to do is make sure we don't step in front of the market, right? So far we've double bottomed here, but that don't mean anything, right? It's all the pre-market. We'll see what happens when the things go back. And just word to the wise. Remember, IBIT is going to start trading options today. Now, if the options bros get into this thing, who knows where Bitcoin goes, right? Like, who knows where all of this stuff turns out to. So we got a little chance today. Let's go have some fun. Let's do what we do, which is the do. I'm hopping in the Discord room, and we're gonna be raging. We're gonna be raging today. Oh, let me see. Do I like Beto over Bitcoin? I think they're about the same. Yeah, I think they're about the same. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Guys, we got Black Friday also going on. Come and have some fun. We got bundles on everything. Cool. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right. I love you guys. You know what we got to do now? Today we do the Lord's work. Hey, this is not a linear market, by the way, right? Because the market has changed a little bit, so you can't just be throwing squiggly lines on charts and raging. You got to get better entries and time it with everything with the market. But we got